People think that Stan Lee is the father of all superheroes, but what if I was to tell you that Stan Lee actually was inspired from something that was going on way before his time? In the early 1800s, the superhero craze really popped off hard. And this is where Stan Lee drew most of his inspiration for our modern day superheroes today. Now, this was a theory that was floating around the internet for a long time, however, it didn't have any proof to back it up. But recently, some photographs have been unearthed showing proof of these superheroes from the 1800s. So let's actually dive in and look at what the first X-Men or the first Avengers actually look like. As far as I can trace it back, it started with a guy named Robert Hughes. He, as a baby, was super strong, so his parents decided to put him into the circus to display his strength and also make a living for themselves. Robert was wildly successful and drew crowds from all around the world to come marvel at his strength. Robert would continue to perform in the circus through his teenage years, and later in his teenage years his pictures would change from a happy child to a more melancholy face, showing that Robert was not happy with his lifestyle of performing for people in the circus. By the time Robert reached his 20s, he stopped performing in the circus and he started writing books about health and wellness. He wanted to share his gifts with the world. And since Robert already had a large following from performing in the circus, his books did very well, making him a very wealthy man. And with his newfound wealth, he got married and he bought a huge mansion. 2 weeks into his new marriage, he found out that his wife was cheating on him with another man. So he got angry and decided to leave. He told her that she could keep the house. However, upon him leaving, he punched the walls of the house so hard that the whole house crumbled. Later that day, someone caught a photograph of a masked man dangling another man off a roof and dropping him to his death. The man who died ended up being the sneaky link of Robert's wife, who is also now deceased. Realizing that he just killed 2 people, Robert knew that persecution was coming his way, and although he was strong enough to fight off anything that was coming his way, he decided to run to the mountainside because he knew in his heart he wasn't a bad guy. Eventually, the law caught up with him, and since they couldn't just normally arrest him, they had to use steel cages to trap him and bring him to the station. While Robert was imprisoned, he decided that his strength had already failed him, so he would focus his energies on something more, like his mind, and he started meditating. This allowed Robert to unlock his powers that were hidden deep within. He was now able to control physical matter with only the power of his mind. Robert used his new abilities to bend the bars and break out of jail, and from that day forward he was nicknamed Magnet Man.